Hello, welcome to Now Tell Us. At Now Tell Us is where we have guests come and tell us stories. They come and educate us, they come and inspire us, or they come and, and tell us something that they have a passion about, and we can join in either celebrating, crying, or whatever it is that they call us to do. And today we have a special guest. Just like in the recent past, we are always having great guests. And this one is also a great guest. And before we go and meet our guest, whose name is Jonathan York, I'd like to remind you to please follow us on any of the platforms that you are on. We are there. Now Tell Us is the show. And guess what? We are number 3 at Podmatch. Can't believe this. Number 3 as one of the best shows that people are following on Podmatch. And thanks to you, thanks to our guest, that's how we've made it and we keep on going. So I won't take one more minute. I just go and meet the guest together with you to learn about a journey through addiction, prison to CEO. That must be an interesting story coming from Jonathan York. So let's go and meet him. Here we go. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey Anthony, how are you?
I'm fine. How about you?
That was quite the introduction and quite the intro. I'm great. How are you?
Uh, Good, 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 good. Where are you?
In Georgia.
Georgia. Oh, that's in
hmm
the US.
Yeah, in the United States, in Georgia.
And I'm curious to know what's the weather about?
It's actually pretty nice today. It's been pretty cold. Today's like almost 70, so it's a really beautiful day here.
Okay, because someone was telling me there are some parts of the US now they've received heavy, heavy snow than they have received in the recent past or 10, 20 years.
Yeah, up in Buffalo, New York, they got 4 feet in one day.
4 feet.
4 feet.
Wow. And what are people doing? I mean, how do you just go through a 4 feet level of snow? That means that it must be taller than me.
It's yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing. I've never had to deal with it, so I would imagine they're probably just, we like to say in the South, hunkering down and trying to survive through it.
Hmm. Yeah, they're called challenges of life, and each and every one of us go through them, maybe in a different way, but challenges do exist in life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, talking about challenges, I know you've faced many of them, and especially when you were born and growing up. Can you please tell us how was it? Where were you born there, Georgia, or did you move there? And how was it in your younger years?
Sure. So my mom had me at 16. So it kind of tells you back in 1980 at 16, there wasn't very much support from her family or anything like that. From a very early age, she from my pretty much my birth, she battled addiction. I was born in South Atlanta, pretty rough area. My earliest memory is one of me. I'm 2 or 3 years old, trying to open a can of potato soup while my mom's kind of laid out on a mattress on the floor all day. So that's kind of the setting, the backdrop that I was born into.
Hmm, interesting. So, and were you also with your dad, or it was a single parent upbringing?
I bounced around from mom to grandma. Ended up with dad at 5 or so. My mom battled addiction my whole life, and then my dad kind of battled alcoholism my whole life. So there was, and plus the area I grew up in was a lot of drug activity. So everywhere I looked, everybody that I knew, drugs and alcohol were present in pretty much everyone's life. It was just the way it was around those times and around those areas.
Hmm. So I guess you are introduced into it much earlier on when you were young. You started using, or at what point did you begin also using?
I smoked pot for the first time, weed, marijuana for 12, maybe 12 years old. I drank my first alcohol at probably 10, 8 or between 8 and 10. Smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol like by the age of 10.
Mm. And then at some point you talk about going to prison. Uh, how did that happen? What caused it?
Yeah, so let's get to that point. So like I said, mom addict, ended up with dad around 5. Alcohol, drug dealers, those were kind of our idols. They had the cool cars and the girls and the money. So that's cool. We kind of looked up to. I ended up getting married right at 20, had my first daughter, then had a son. So by like 22, I was married with 2 kids. That's when addiction really came out heavily in me, was through my 20s. Through that marriage, I was a horrible person, basically pathological liar, double life, just not being the man that I'm supposed to be at all.
Mhm.
Finally, my wife at the time got tired of it and divorced me right at 30. For about a year and a half, I went even harder, ran the streets, kind of linked up with a pretty well known drug dealer here in Atlanta, and was kind of his right hand man, and went really hard, to the point to where, I mean, needles, all the things, and that's towards the back end of that. Ended up going to prison for 32 months.
32 months.
Hmm.
Wow. And now tell us about life in prison, because I don't come from the US, and we've had so many stories of about of life in prison in the US, which is very different from where I come from. So would love to know, how is life in prison in the US?
Well, there's different levels. I wasn't in for anything violent, and it was my first offense. So I did about a month at somewhere you don't want to be, and that's when I was playing cards one day to find out that the person to my right was in for actually killing his own 2 kids, and the person to my left was in for rape. And I was playing cards with these people, and at that point that night in my bunk, I made the decision. I looked around and I said, I don't know about anything else, but I know I don't belong here, and I know I will not be back. So I kind of made that decision early on. Um, Once I got out of that, I was kind of at a county camp. So what that means is I was still in prison, but I had like a work detail, so I got to leave and go work, at a water department. So it really wasn't. It, my situation wasn't horrible. There are some way different stories, but my personal, I spent a month doing some really hard time, and that was plenty. But 32 months of not being able to do what you want to do, not having your family around, you know, it wasn't fun by any means, but I say it's one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Hmm. Yeah, they talk about whatever it is that you are in prison. One thing that you don't have is the freedom to do what you want to do, to go where you want to go, uh, and that can be devastating to your mental health. It can be lead you in a different direction. What do you say, like saying regrets or things like that? But then you say that that could have been the best time of your life. Tell us about that.
I say I don't know, it wasn't the best time of my life, but it was the one of
The
the best
best,
things that
the
ever
best
happened
thing.
to me
Okay, the best
because
thing, rather.
okay, so you smoked pot for the first time at 12. Let's fast forward 20 years, to 32. Let's just to round it off. And so that's 20 years of drug use, 20 years of foggy headed, 20 years of not thinking clearly. So when I get there and I'm forced to kind of get clean for the first time and really become clear headed for the first time, uh, I think I just kind of realized the man that I always have been. I just couldn't get past the addiction on the street. So I spent 32 months. I'm a big believer in visualization and manifestation. And that's because for 32 months, I visualized the life that I was going to have when I got out. And then I got out and made it happen. So I'm a big believer in visualization and manifestation because of those reasons.
So, do you want to tell us that even before you went into prison, there was that thing, that desire at the back of your mind that you would want to get out of it? or it just happened because you found yourself in that situation?
I think I mean, I always knew it was wrong. I always had a good heart. I didn't always do the right things by any means. Made poor decisions. But there's a lot of good hearted people that just can't break that cycle of addiction. And I think that was kind of my story. I just couldn't get away from the sickness. You're going to get sick and you're going to have to deal with all this to come off of it. And I never could just make it through that period of time because drugs and stuff were so accessible. I just didn't have the strength, I guess, to make it through it. So, and I mean, we can get on a little bit of my story after prison, because that really prison is kind of the halfway point. There's some major things after that as well, surrounding addiction in my family and things like that.
Let's keep going. Tell us,
Okay.
yeah, how you got out of prison, and how did you just get started on life?
So I get out. I actually got a job making around $9 an hour, which is, basically a little bit above minimum wage or so. I was actually still in prison. I did the last 6 months or so at a transitional center. So I was technically still a prisoner, but I got to work every day. And um, within a month of me getting out, my mom overdosed and was in ICU for a week, like a full week, like a stroke victim, eyes rolled back in the back of her head, mouth hanging open. Like, it did not look good at all. I feel like that I prayed my mom through that because I'd missed so much time already, and I just didn't want to end like that. So my mom gets through that. A few months later, my sister actually overdoses and passes away in some crappy motel room in Atlanta. Um, so I have to tell my mom that, and it just really devastates her to the point. She'd already abused her body and her mind for so many years, and then when you kind of added the loss of a daughter, she was to the point where she was almost insane. I would say, I mean, just not mentally healthy at all. I would sit outside of her apartment here, have like conversations with ghosts, and it was wild time. And then I got her into an apartment about 5 miles from my work, and I was checking on her every day at my lunch break. And then one day on my lunch break, I actually found my mom's suicide by overdose. So I had all of these major events happen within 1 year, of me getting out of prison. But what that did to me was I hyper focused on my career, I think, to avoid the pain, I guess. And I used that pain to kind of catapult my professional career. So I'm working through a lot of that stuff now, but I was able to get through it and use it as fuel.
Hmm. So what did you get started on? I mean, what career, what are you doing immediately that you came out?
Yeah, so I got a job doing coatings. That's what I know. I'm a flooring. I know coatings. I know resinous coatings. So I got a job with a flooring company. Broke every set, like within the first year of being there. Broke every sales record the company had. Outsold the owner. First person to ever outsold the owner. This is with no prior sales experience. I just was a naturally gifted salesperson.
Mhm.
So I was able to take that from $8 an hour to six figures the next year, and then by year six from prison, I had made $1 million on W-2s and started my own company. And that was about a year and a half ago.
Hmm. Now, since you were divorced by the time that you are going into prison, did you get, I mean, after you're coming out, do you have someone? Do you have,
Absolutely. I
uh-huh,
have
at
I
that
have
time,
my
last year, or I'm not asking immediately now, but the first, when you're starting out and getting into business?
yeah, well, I actually met my wife now about 6 months after I got out, probably maybe even a little less than that.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and believe it or not, she's in the military here, and man, she's been just my strength. She was put in my path for a reason. She is definitely a big part of why I'm here. And another cool caveat to the thing is that when my mom passed away, we weren't even trying to have kids, but when my mom passed away, we found out the same week that she was pregnant with my daughter. So, and as soon as we found out she was pregnant, I knew instantly it was a girl. I was like, I just felt it. I was like, one is kind of replacing that void in my life. So now we have a 4-year-old daughter running around who's pretty wild, but she's a godsend for sure.
Wow, that's wonderful. Yeah. Now, looking back, and I know we'll proceed from there, that we'll talk about where the level you are at right now and the things that you're currently doing. But looking back through the experiences that you went through, and you have people listening to you. We have Esther Chuareya. Thank you. I hope I got that right. Thank you, Esther. And thank you, every other person who's watching or who's listening to us. We really appreciate you here. Please keep asking the questions, keep commenting, encouraging. Thank you for the encouragement, Esther. Now, I'm saying that we have people listening to us or watching us, and they may have they may be young, that they are exposed to ideas like
Mm-hmm.
going into drugs or maybe going into the wrong way in life. What would your words be to them?
I would be steer clear. Don't even dabble a toe in it because it. I mean, a lot probably depends on your personality and like your makeup. But the wrong personality, if you just dip a toe in it, it can consume your life in an instant. And that's my biggest is don't even give it the time of day. Just steer clear. Life's too short. There's way too many important things to do. That is not the person that I'm a man of faith. That is not the person that God intended you to be. So just stay away from it.
And now, since you're a man of faith, at what point did you pick it up? I mean, was it in prison when you found yourself there and you had the chance to contemplate about your direction in life, or did it come much later?
It started there. It's
Uh,
been a long process. It's probably a 10-year process. It definitely started there. I started building that foundation of faith there. I had an aunt and uncle who used to pick me when I got made it to that transitional center. I had an aunt and uncle who used to pick me up every Sunday and take me to church. So by the time I got out, if I did not have that foundation of faith that I had built in prison, I don't think I could have withstood the storms that were waiting on me with my mom's overdose, my sister's overdose, and then my mom's overdose.
mhm.
It tested those things. It definitely put some distance between me and God for a while. But um, about, I would say 2 years ago is when I really developed a personal relationship with Christ. And that's when my faith just took off through the roof is about 2 years ago. But it's been a long process. It's a 10-year process to get here. So now, like, that's what I'm about. I'm about leading people to
One,
Christ.
and I guess also your wife, and because you say she's a pillar of strength, I guess she's played a big part in it. That's my guess.
Yeah, she has to a point as well. And I think I've, through my life's experiences and everything she's seen me overcome and accomplish, it's given her faith as well, because I've
Mm-hmm.
leaned so hard into my faith. So we've definitely been, each other, and professionally, we just blossomed together. We've brought out the best in each other. It's been an awesome adventure with her. I wouldn't do it with anybody else. She's amazing.
What is quite clear here is that each and every one of us need one another. There's no one who is on his own or who can achieve things or who can live a fulfilling life without the contact, the help, or the assistance of other people.
100%.
Mm,
People need community. I would even say like men especially need brotherhood,
mhm,
especially.
mhm.
And men need to figure out a way to be vulnerable. I think men need to share their stories because so many people out there have been through so many things, and there's someone that's either about to go through it or in the middle of it. And man, you can just do so much to help somebody by just sharing your story and being vulnerable.
And you talk about men, and you remind me that you have something going on called the Resilient Man. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, I think that's, I told you I had that kind of moment 2 or so years ago. And I'd viewed my life as a little bit of a victim mentality. Why was I born into this? Why me? Why me? Why me? And God put it on my heart one day that it's been all for a reason. It's all been preparation for what's coming. And when He put that on my heart, everything changed.
Mm-hmm.
So I started using that as He's been preparing me for what I'm doing. And I started Resilient Man Project with the I didn't even really want to make it about faith. I wanted to make it about my story, and I wanted to consistently just point to my faith as what got me there. But Jesus, God had a different plan, because it's just been about faith. Like it's taken a meaning of its own. And now I really think my mission in life is to I'm big on unity, because I feel like we are being intentionally divided. I feel like we're being intentionally told we have so many things that we don't have in common, or that we shouldn't like about each other. And the fact of the matter is, like, we have so much more in common than we
Mm-hmm.
do different.
So, what is it all about, the resilient man?
So getting back to that kind of that men need to be more vulnerable thing, I think that a lot of men are waiting on another man to go first. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
they have something to say, they have something to share, they just don't want to go first. So the first two episodes of Resilient Man are just me telling my story and all the ugly details, in the hopes that I'm going first, and hoping the other men would come behind me, and they have. And the outpouring has been amazing. We have so much traction on social media. It's been an amazing ride, well received, and I think I'm making a difference. And that's really what we all want, right? Like, we want to make an impact. We want to leave this world a little better than we found it. And I really think I'm doing that. And it's just a fulfilling feeling. And I think it's my life's work. I think I'll be doing it from now till the day that y'all put me under.
That's beautiful. Now, your T-shirt says something. Be a voice.
Not an echo.
Wow, be a voice, not an echo. How did
Yeah.
you come up with that? And tell us a bit more about being a voice and not an echo. Yeah, I guess it's got to do with the resilient man.
No, it's actually just a shirt that I like and I found, but it resonated with me because I consider myself a free thinker. I don't get caught up in political parties too much. I don't get caught up in um, I, I just, if it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I think more people need to think for themselves, instead of, you know, kind of letting the ego get in the way or whatever of this is how I've always felt, or this is how I'm supposed to feel. And I want to be a voice. I want to be a new voice that speaks truth, that speaks my truth, that I, not just regurgitating whatever I hear.
Yeah, we've kept quiet for so long, and things happen around us. We just keep watching, and
Can't be quiet anymore.
yes, we got to speak up. We got to be that voice and not the echo. We see something that is not going right. The society is going in the wrong direction. We see youth engaging in drugs and different mm, bad activities. Then we've got to raise our voice, speak it out.
Yeah, I believe that. And and it's not just in America, it's all over the world. There's, you know, they try to label it as a this political kind of war that, or whatever, that's going on, but I think it's much more spiritual than that. I think we're in a battle of good versus evil, and I think that if you're a Christian, or if you're a man of faith in any type of way, we have to unite. We have to see the commonalities in each other. We have to be a voice. We have to stand together. If we not, if we don't, then you know, this country over here is, it's going down the wrong path fast, and I just want to do my part to try to stop that.
And that's good of you. And each and every one of us should do our part to just make things right, to raise our voice. Anything else that you're doing along the way?
Not really, just Resilient Man Project. We got the podcast, and I'm putting together a virtual event. So no matter where you are in the world, if you wanted to sign up for that, you can look us up on Facebook and find us, and I'll get you a link over, which we're going to teach on the four pillars of the Resilient Man Project, which are faith, freedom, finance, and one more. But that, and then the fifth day will be on resilience, and I'm bringing in some guest speakers and stuff to kind of talk about some stuff that they've been through. So that's pretty much it. Everything that I do now revolves around resilient man.
Okay. Now, to those who are listening or those who are watching, I think we have a link here, and that's the link to the Resilient Man Project
Oh, there it
by,
is.
yeah, there it is by Jonathan York. Um, Now, your story is an interesting one. I mean, give someone some inspiration, some encouragement that even though I find myself in a situation where uh, I don't like a situation where I could have been driven into. There can always be hope of getting out someday.
Absolutely. I think that, we are, as a people, we are much stronger than we think we are, first of
Mm,
all. And when it comes to resilience, I believe that everybody's born with a certain amount of it, but I also believe that resilience is a skill. And I believe that as you go through life and you make it through situations where you didn't know if you're going to make it, you just kind of build on that little bit of resilience, a little bit more resilience. And and then if you can kind of add that personal relationship with some, I don't know, Jesus, God, whatever, something bigger than yourself. If you can build that relationship with something bigger than yourself, and then you can build that resilience piece together, and then add that spiritual resilience, you become an unstoppable force.
mm, that's beautiful. So you're gonna believe in a higher being, someone who's got more power than you, because
Yeah, some
we can only do so much, but then that superior being can be of help for us for things that we cannot and things that we have a difficulty achieving.
that's
Is
right.
there for you. Any idea of putting your story into a book, because you have a good story?
Maybe eventually, but there's still so much to write. You know, there's still so much to write. I'm just getting started on this purpose-driven life that I've started, and it has taken fire inside of me like nothing else. So, we've already made an impact. But I told my wife maybe 6 months ago, laying in bed, I said, "Babe, we're going to change the world," and I meant that. We're going to do our part. We're going to change the world. So once I've made a difference, a big enough impact, and I feel like it's the last few chapters or whatever I've written, maybe, but I don't know. I'm not much of a writer. I might have to like get somebody to write it for me or something.
You can just tell it to someone and
Yeah,
he writes it for you. And I don't know, because the world is going at a very fast rate. You can just tell it to a machine and the machine will write the story for you.
oh, that's a whole nother topic right there.
It's a whole
Tech
topic.
technology is a good thing to a point, but
Yeah.
for every technological advancement we make, it's to human detriment, and it's to less connection, and if we're not careful, it's a slippery slope, and we might even already been too far on the other side of it.
Yeah, that's the fear going around. Now, we hope that everything goes well. We pray to God that He sees us through, and just like He saw you you through in your story. I pray for anyone who's out there that is going through challenges, someone who's been facing an addiction, going through an addiction of a kind. They're gonna find the light at the end of the tunnel.
I firmly believe that He will give you the path.
Mm,
It is up to you to take the action.
yeah. So that's about it for today's episode. We really thank you, Jonathan. And
Thank you for having me.
we are getting some reports that the internet could not be so good, but I hope that the sound has been recorded well. So we're gonna share it. Um, so I just remind you, if you need to see this episode again, go to either nowtellus.com or go to Podmatch, and the link to Podmatch is displayed. It's also in the description. So we really appreciate your story and you sharing with us, Jonathan. It's been such a pleasure. We thank all our viewers and listeners. Thank you, Esther. You've been here the longest. And,
Thank
and
you,
also,
Esther.
yes, and also others who watch us. We also have Claire here. And I know there are people who've been watching us without saying anything. So thank you, Claire, also, and every other person. We really thank you. So, yes, Claire says thank you both of you. Much appreciated also from my side. Esther, that's Esther who says that, and she's happy. Yes, and she's sending love. So, to everyone out there, thank you very much. We have come to the end of this episode. Sorry for the internet, for those who are reporting that it's not so good. We hope that tomorrow is going to be better. So, this has been your host, Anthony Mwerore, and together with Jonathan York. But before we go, I almost forgot this. We always ask our guests to leave us with a few words that we should always remember. Which are they, Jonathan?
I'm going to say that you have to put your faith in something bigger than yourself, something bigger than anything of this world. Everything in this world is going to let you down at some point.
Everything in this world is going to,
Everything in this world is going to let you down at some point.
like the internet has just let us down.
Exactly.
Okay, we get it. we gotta trust on a higher being. just know that. Just know that. And remember it's Jonathan who said that. So that's it. Until next time, your host Anthony Morore, together with our guest Jonathan York, we are saying bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. The internet let us down again. Is not
It still says
playing.
live.
Is not is not playing the end sound. So we are ending the live. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
We didn't play the outro. So remember those words.